Okay, we're rolling.
Hey, welcome to the How to Podcast series. It's Dave with you. Hope you're doing well. I have a guest co-host on the show with me today. Mark is on. He loves tequila, wine, and sports. He's combined all three into one amazing YouTube channel. And now, at the prompting of his amazing wife, has decided that podcasting is next. So someone coming from YouTube to podcasting. I love this. And so he found the show. He put a comment in the podcast and left me a little message. I reached out to him and responded to my comment, and then we got him on the show. So Mark is here. I'm excited to have him on the podcast. We're going to learn a lot about his journey from YouTube to podcasting, what he's learning. He's a brand new baby podcaster, everybody, but he's got so much experience from radio, from YouTube, and he loves to sip the occasional tequila or have a nice fancy glass of wine. Mark's here on the show. Mark, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you here as my guest co-host. Let's jump into this. This is great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Considering that I wake up every morning to Dave's voice with my cup of coffee, listening to his podcast. So, like he was saying, I do come from a radio background. I have a degree in radio and television broadcasting and worked as an on-air radio personality professionally for a few years afterwards. And like Dave mentioned in his podcast, there's a stability problem there. I'm not one that really cares for instability. I've been fired more times in the small amount of time that I did that for, reasons like, oh, my nephew wants to get in the spot, and so you have the number one spot in the afternoon, and so I want to put him in your spot. So thank you for doing that, and good luck. I worked country radio. I worked CHR, which is contemporary hit radio. I worked AC, which is adult contemporary. I worked oldies. So I worked multiple formats, and I worked classic rock too. We did the whole, this is Led Zeppelin kicking off your afternoon. Grab that cold beer and let's rock out.
So Mark has that side of him, the radio side, which is interesting to hear how all that plays out. And then he has the YouTube side of him. I asked him more about his YouTube channel and his journey with YouTube, and this is where we went with the conversation.
The time when I left radio, I said, I'm done with this. And when I was in radio, when you work in small market stations, they have you do other things too, because they're like, well, we can't pay you just to be a radio DJ for 5-6 hours. You're gonna have to do other things. So I did outside sales, and I did writing and producing commercials and stuff for accounts. I did voiceover work, so I can do character voices and stuff, and impersonations and stuff like that. I have a bunch of characters I do on my YouTube channel. I went into sales, and so then I ended up getting into technology sales, and that's where the core of my career has been until technology stuff started really taking a dump. And like, I worked in cell phones before cell phones were a big thing, and then next thing you know, cell phones are on every street corner and in every gas station, and you can get them anywhere. So I ended up starting my own wedding and event DJ business, getting back to my radio roots. And while I was doing that, I started getting into tequila and falling in love with tequila. I was a national champion beer maker before, home brewer. And so I wanted to parlay what I learned about fermentation and making beer and find out more about tequila. And I took a dive into the world of tequila and got my haters set up and got all kinds of stuff going on. So it was an experience. And so when I decided to jump into YouTube, I still had that thing about I have a face for radio, and so I'm sitting there going, I'm going to do video. And so I started doing video and doing the reviews. And if you go to my channel, which is the Tequila Hombre channel, I was using a webcam. My face is huge on the screen because it was so close. I couldn't get back it because the room I had wasn't big enough to really space things out. And I had glasses, I had braces. I mean, it was just the most awkward thing that you could see. But getting out there and doing it and putting it out there, was what kind of got me over my fear of being on video and being worried about what people would think about me or how people would feel about me.
So there is a key point right there, everybody. Getting started, just putting yourself out there. And as Mark is saying, he's like, I didn't really love the idea of video, but on YouTube, it makes sense to be on YouTube and be on video. And that's his first priority. Again, remember, he's coming from radio, no video, to YouTube. He understands how YouTube works. So for him, video works. And he's got a very visual component to what he's doing. So it's excellent. So I asked him about being on YouTube opens you up to potential haters. And he has an interesting story about dealing with his haters on YouTube specifically. And here's what happened.
I had my haters. I had people that like it. One of the best comments, my wife and I still laugh about this today. It happened probably about 10 years ago when I first started the channel, is somebody had commented on one of my videos, "You look like a thumb."
Okay, so you can get comments about content, but when somebody starts attacking you like this, some people would give up. Mark didn't.
You look like a thumb. And it's because I got a big head and I was large at the time. I've lost a lot of weight, but I was large at the time. And I looked at that and I held my hand up with my thumb over my head. And I went, I kind of do look like a thumb. And so my wife and I just laugh about that because it's like the weirdest thing to say to somebody. But, if you don't find the humor in it, you take it personally, it won't do you any good. So you got to look for the humor and stuff like that.
So when I heard him mention that, I remember there's other podcasters that I've talked to, and they've had some pretty negative comments. And what they do is they take the negative and turn it into a positive, where they would say, this is the worst podcast ever. And they'll make a shirt up that says, I am the host of the worst podcast ever. And their community also will step in and support you and go, wait, we love this show.
But there was that one YouTuber that wrote a song with all our negative comments. It's great. She actually did it on America's Got Talent. So I sang it. I was laughing so hard. It was crazy. It was great.
So I asked Mark how long his YouTube channel's been up and running, and kind of give us a little history about what he's done on YouTube. And this is kind of a little backstory about his YouTube channel.
YouTube channel has been going for just about 10 years now. Well, the thing I love about YouTube is that when you do have haters that comment on your videos, if they're being destructive, if they're not really adding to the conversation, but instead being diverting from the conversation, diverting from the topic, there's three little buttons next to their three little dots next to their comment, and you can right click on that. And one of the options on there is to hide from channel. And when you click hide from channel, their comment disappears for you. Their comment disappears for everybody else. But when they come back to check to see if you've deleted their comment so they can get even more angry at you, they still see their comment there. So they think the comment's still there for people to see. And you still get the engagement from YouTube because YouTube doesn't care if you get bad comments or good comments, just as long as you get comments. And the same with the thumbs up and the thumbs down. I have like two guys that have been following me for years that go and they click the thumb down on every one of my videos. So if you go into my videos and you look at all the videos, they at least have two thumbs down because I have two guys that do that.
So that's a really great thing to do, everybody. Go and do what Mark just said. Go and hide that person from your channel if you're getting some pretty negative feedback. And even if they give you a thumbs down and you're like, oh, it's still engagement. YouTube doesn't care. Thumb up, thumb down. They don't care. Doesn't mean anything to YouTube. They just know that people are engaging with your video. So don't be so caught up and worried about those thumb down. I get them all the time. And yeah, it hurts a little bit. You're like, oh, I want people to like me. But according to Mark, doesn't matter. And then hide the comments and your hater won't even know that everyone else can't see it. Just that person who hates your stuff and giving you those bad comments. They'll still see their comment, but they're not getting any love or any attention. That's all people want. That's all the haters want. They just want attention. We see you haters. We know you. I also asked Mark his own preference as a consumer. Does he prefer a video podcast, an audio podcast? What does he most gravitate to? when he's consuming content, because my show's audio and his show's video. So I was curious to hear the difference, and here's what he said.
If I'm in the car, even if it has video, I'll still just listen to it as an audio podcast. I gravitate more towards a video podcast because for me, I'm more of a visual person. So like I couldn't see you when I was looking at but some of the other podcasts, like I told you, I like to watch Anthony Scaramucci on his podcast, and it shows him. And I forgot the other lady that he does his politics podcast with. But I enjoy watching them, pop up and back on the screen and talking to each other, and some of the facial reactions that they make or gestures. It helps me connect more with the person that I'm listening to. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do video for mine, is so people can see me. People can, know if they go to the Tequila Hombre channel, okay, that's him, and we can build a familiarity even where if I'm out in public, people can come up and say, hey, can I ask you a question? And they ask me questions and stuff all the time, and I'm more than happy to answer questions for them. But it lets them know who I am, or we connect on a higher level than just with voice.
So earlier, Mark mentioned that he did sales when he worked with the radio station. And so he was promoting the station, getting new advertisers and everything. So he knows how to deal with advertisers, sponsors for his show, and the radio station. So he took that skill set into his content creation now after working in radio. And he's built relationships with the vendors that he features on his show. So I asked him how he got started creating these relationships with the tequila producers and the wine making supplies and all of those people that are in what he does. And it's interesting because he explains here how he built his community, but also how he built the relationships with his vendors. I thought this was really important. If you want to start a podcast and work with vendors, follow Mark's suggestions here, because this is really going to help you to navigate future relationships with your show. Here's Mark's answer.
So when I first started the YouTube channel, my goal was to do reviews, not to monetize it, not to make money from it, not to try to get free tequila bottles or anything like that, but basically to do reviews that could help people. Because at the time when I started, there was no other tequila reviewers out there that were giving any information that could actually help anybody. The only review videos that were really available out there were some bourbon whiskey guys that would, take a swig of tequila and go, smooth. So I'm like, okay, what does that mean? They're like, yeah, you should buy this. This is really smooth. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? And so I'm like, I could do this better. I came from radio. I could express things better. I was a beer judge. I got trained in sensory stuff with beer making. I know what fermentation flaws are, and I went through culinary classes, as a side thing, because I was cooking, at a local college here, and I've been trained and went through sensory stuff with culinary. I could do better than this. And so I said, I'm going to create a channel. I'm going to, pay for my own tequila and do reviews. And then I'm going to send my reviews to the producers, the people making them and the brands, and say, hey, I just did this review. Did I get anything wrong? What do you think? A lot of times I'd reach out beforehand and say, hey, I'm about ready to review your tequila. And I'd send them a message through Facebook Messenger at the time, and try to track down who the producer was, and so after a while, it got to the point where now they would respond back and say, yeah, we love for you to review our product, my tequila. Here's what we did to make this one. Sometimes there was another resource that was available at the time that I'd use, and I'd say, I want to verify that resource. And a lot of times they come back and say, no, that information's wrong. The person at that resource has never been here. This is what we do. And I'm like, okay, great. And make sure I get the information correct. And I'd give to them by posting the review and talking about a tequila they make and their family and their history and stuff, and not ask for a dime. And then the viewers could watch it, and I never charged them for it or asked for a dime. And it got to the point where I started loving some of these tequilas, where I'm like, I'd really like to help your brand out. Can we do like a single barrel buy or a special project? And I'll buy the whole batch. I created an online retail store that I will buy the batch from them and we'll offer it on an online retail store through a partner that I have that handles fulfillment. So then they, when the orders come in, they'll ship it. And by doing that, we're supporting the brand. We're supporting the producer by giving them money for tequila. And then the viewers benefit from it because they're getting access to this amazing stuff that I went out and worked with the producers on making and delivering to them.
So you hear Mark says at the beginning, no thought of making money. I'll pay for my own tequila. I'll fund it myself. I'll reach out to the vendors. I'll give them a heads up that I'm doing a review on their stuff. I want to make sure I'm factually correct in the information I have before I get out there and start talking about their product. Look at all these things. Check, 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 check. If you're going to work with a sponsor, look at what Mark's done. Look at all of the work he put behind this. He didn't just show up, grab a tequila off the shelf and go, this is great, smooth. Come on. As he said, he listened to the competition. He listened to what other people were doing on a bourbon show. It's not even a tequila show, it's a bourbon show, everybody. He listened, he watched and went, wait a minute, I could do better. I could do more specific detail. I have more to offer than the word smooth for a sip of tequila. I could do it better. So he's done all this work. He set up relationships with vendors, and he didn't ask for anything. And that's where a lot of podcasters get this wrong. We want money right out of the gate. We want a sponsor on episode 1. We want to be paid. Mark's approach is the best approach for a long-standing relationship. So keep that in mind as you're building out your podcast idea. Follow Mark's plan. Reach out to him and tell him that you want to do something like this. I'm sure he'd love to help you. So what's the result then? All this work's happened. I asked Mark, well, then what happened as a result of all this planning and preparation and building relationships with these sponsors for the sake of the community? Remember, for the sake of the listener and the viewer? Here's what he said.
And by doing that, now I have just about every major tequila producer that produces tequila that I would drink on my phone on WhatsApp. They made me honor a Mexican on Mexican Independence Day. They send me, Happy Independence Day, and they call me Hombre. Hombre, when you can come visit. I have Mexican themed tattoos on me because of my love for the spirit. And they're like my family. If I go to Mexico, all of a sudden it's like, oh, my phone blows up. Well, you're going to come visit us. You're going to come visit us. You're going to come visit us. You should come visit here. Why aren't you stopping here this time? And we need to work on a project. And so I have this huge group of people that are like my family. And it's all because I gave without expecting anything in return. And when you help somebody like that and you give without expecting any return, people will want to reciprocate. And so I have a lot of people that, buy memberships on my YouTube channel now. And I have a Discord membership that I do for a community that people join to support what I'm doing and to support me. And I love them for it.
Now that's the way to start. Instead of coming to get right out of the gate with a new show, come to serve. Just come, show up, serve. Keep serving. Just keep serving. You're not making any money. Oh, but I got to make money. No, just serve your audience. Start that way from the beginning, and then you'll see the results over time. This is a long-term goal. This isn't Instagram fame. It's not. Build it.
Yeah. Well, I was, my first year doing the Tequila Hombre channel and doing my group. My group's called the Tequila Barrel and Agave Collective, and that's where we do the special buys and stuff. And that's what we did on Discord. We were doing it on Facebook originally for free the first year, but Facebook kept closing down our group because they said you can't sell tequila online. But I wasn't selling it online. I was posting that you can buy it, at our store at this, link, and directing people to it. But they closed my group down 3 times, and I said, okay, we got to find something else. So we went to Discord, and I created it as a membership group. So it's $10 a month to join, and that supports me and what I do and helps pay for my trips to Mexico to put these buys together, and also gives my viewers and people that follow me and stuff like immediate access to me. If they tag me in a post on Discord, I answer them right away. We get together and talk sports. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. A bunch of them are Eagles fans. And so they'll say, hey, Hombre, how about those Cowboys? Ha, 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 And so we go at each other, have a good time. And it becomes more of a personal connection with them as well. And so I'm building that community now. And then the podcast, I was thinking, why do I need a podcast? If I got the YouTube channel, I can get all my messages out. But then I wanted to think and say, look, I wanted an avenue to get people information. Again, giving for free. I'm not looking to make any money off the podcast or charge people for it or do anything like that. But get people information that is without distractions. On YouTube, on social media, there's so many things that can distract people from absorbing your content. You got the haters putting comments like, I'm not gonna list this guy because his hater said this business on a podcast. They can't do that. And in a podcast, for me to do a long form video on YouTube, if I post a 10-minute video, I'm lucky if they watch it for 4 minutes. And I'm hoping on podcasts, if I post a 20 to 40-minute video, I'll keep them for 15 to 20 minutes, And I'm looking at my stats, and right now it's I got 23 plays, 2 hours of consumption hours, and 6 new followers. So that's good. So people are listening, which is good. And I'm just starting to tell my story on that. I'm starting out to try to build credibility by telling my story on the podcast.
So I asked Mark how he's going to blend his YouTube world for 10 plus years and that audience with a new podcast audience. Does he see a correlation? Does he see audience members traveling back and forth between YouTube and podcast? And kind of what his goal is through the podcast, now adding this to the mix.
No, I'm good. I definitely have some of my YouTube people coming to the podcast. And the information on the podcast is going to be different. On the Instagram channel, it's more straight, tequila information. Where on the podcast, it's going to be more about meeting the people and finding out about their history and what got them into tequila and stuff versus trying to sell their brand. Like if I bring them on a live stream on YouTube, we normally talk about, he's got a new brand that came out. It's called, like for example, Valor Tequila, which is this one that just gave me bottles for review. But this one just came in. So I just did a video on this morning for saying I'm going to do the review on it. So Valor Tequila, we talk about how Valor is made and we talk about that particular brand. Well, on the podcast, we're going to do something different where we're going to talk about the producer. And then the podcast also talks about wine, and it's going to talk about sports because I'm a Dallas Cowboys person, and how tequila, wine, and sports kind of go together. And people don't understand that. We have people that like sports that say, hey, I don't like tequila. We have people that have wine that say, I don't like tequila. People that like tequila that say, I don't like wine. But one of the things they don't know is how interconnected they are. And so one of the things that really advanced my knowledge in tequila was exploring wine. And it's funny because some of the producers out there, which I'm going to feature on my show, when I started getting into home winemaking. I'm actually now an award-winning home winemaker, and I have a winery in my garage, the Hombre Cave, where I film my episode. You'll always see me wearing a sweatshirt there because it's 60 degrees because I turned it into a wine cellar. I have it air conditioned. I'm here in Southern California, and in the summer it gets over 100 degrees. So it's going to be 60 in my garage. So you always see me wear a sweatshirt or a coat or something when I'm doing my podcast because that's where my studio is, in the garage. But I actually have a winery in there where I make wine. And from me doing a home winemaking, I've learned a lot more about tequila production. And now I'm taking some of the stuff that I learned from my home winemaking with me to Mexico to teach some of the producers some of these things that they didn't know and help them try to create different flavor profiles and different things that would differentiate them from some of the other producers. Because a lot of these producers, you ask them, so how did you learn how to make tequila? Well, it's the same thing my great-grandfather did and my grandfather did and my father did, and it was passed down to me, which that's great for a traditional brand. But how about trying exploring some stuff that we've learned from new technology and new advancements in science and stuff that we could do that could produce something really interesting and different that could enhance your people that consume your tequila. And they're all excited about that. So I'll be there for a week next week doing that with them.
So I asked Mark, okay, so you have all this set up, podcast, YouTube, everything. So where do you go from here? Like, what are your plans into the future and maintaining all this? Where do you go from here?
I think because, my broadcasting background and stuff and my YouTube background, I pretty much know what I want to do. I think that the only thing for me is that, the hardest part for me is normally on my YouTube reviews and stuff, I have just a basic thing of like, okay, I'm going to talk about the producer, which is stuff it's already in my head. But when I'm putting together my planning for my episodes on my podcast, I'm like, okay, well, how do I put this so it makes sense? So I actually have a tablet, a laptop that I sit at, and I put together kind of like how I want the podcast to progress, like an intro and then hook, and then what I want to talk about, and I'll put like my next episode is going to be the first episode of the second episode of the series was the how I developed a passion for tequila. The next one's going to be the tequila hombre, beginning of the channel, and so I'm just mapping out everything that I'm going to talk about. And one of the things my wife keeps telling me, which I'm like, is that don't make it too long. She doesn't like long podcasts. I'm like, well, there's stuff I can talk, for an hour about. And she's like, I'm like, and just like you said, you're not Joe Rogan. Don't talk for 3 hours because people aren't going to listen to you for that long. And so I try to keep it between 20 to 40 minutes. And she's like, yeah, okay, that would work. But if he goes to an hour, I wouldn't listen to it. I'm like, just come on, support me, honey. Come on, you're my wife. If it was interesting enough, would you listen to it? Just, well, if it was like a continuation of a story or something, maybe I would. I'm like, all right. So you're trying to put together in my mind all this information that I have and getting it categorized so that I can just kind of let it go and do the storytelling on the podcast and let people know what's going on without making it not make sense.
So I asked Mark how he divides up his content then, so that if somebody's interested in tequila or wine or sports, kind of how he keeps all that working together and separate at the same time. And he kind of explains a little further about how he set up his channels.
Tequila Hombre channel is just tequila information. So if they want to learn about tequila and stuff, they go to Tequila Hombre. But on the Hombre Cave YouTube channel, it's been mostly my winemaking ventures, because the tequila people at first would be like, why are you posting wine stuff on your tequila? So, but what I'm doing, what I do is, I have for things for home winemaking, things for making wine with grapes, different playlists that I set up with it. And I was going to do that where you set up a podcast on YouTube and it sets it up as a special thing. It's like not like the rest of your playlist. And so then I set it up as a podcast, and then I'm going to go in like, for the first 3 podcasts, it's going to be an about me playlist. And I'll sign those as about me. And so if somebody looks for about me or whatever, it'll come up with that playlist and they can listen to that playlist in order. And I was going to do that with all the different things that we talk about. But I'm hoping that I want to bring wine people into tequila and bring tequila people into wine. So I don't want to separate those two, because I want people to say like, oh, because like my 3rd episode or 4th episode, I still need to figure out how much more I need to go about me. But it's going to be about wine and tequila and the relationship. And then talk about how they're practically identical and how some of the best tequila makers are actually winemakers as well. So a lot of people don't know that.
So yes, definitely on YouTube, great playlists. How to podcast. What I'm doing is I have little mini playlists as well. I have my main show, so all of the episodes together. I have a call out for all my co-hosted episodes. So if you just want to hear the co-hosted episodes, that's there on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist for Start Here with 24 episodes, 24 hours. Remember that thing I did in February? That's a separate playlist. I have a playlist just about guesting and being a guest and being a host and how to be a great host for a guest, all of that stuff. And I just break them down into smaller playlists because there's so many episodes of the How to Podcast series. I'm doing it also for Living the Next Chapter. Same thing, breaking down like content, grouping them together in a separate playlist in addition to, not instead of, addition to what I do in my podcast. That just gives everybody who comes to my YouTube channel a chance to find me. And what really is helpful to YouTube is YouTube now knows what to do with my stuff. One big feed with 600-700 episodes across a variety of topics, YouTube doesn't know exactly what to do with that. So by breaking it into smaller chunks, it allows YouTube then to focus attention on a limited amount of episodes so that it's all in one space. So that's similar to what Mark is doing as well. He understands how to use YouTube playlists. Mark knows way more about YouTube than I have ever learned because he's been doing this a lot longer than me. And I'm really glad to have Mark on the show. We ended off the conversation with Mark just getting him to tell us again about his show and where we can connect with him. And here's where to go if you want to follow more. If you love tequila, wine, and sports, any combination of the three or all three together, Mark's your new podcast to go to. Here's where to go to find out more about Mark.
My podcast is called the Hombre Cave Podcast, Hombre Cave. So you can find it on YouTube on the Hombre Cave. If you search on Spotify, it's the Hombre Cave, as well as on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and a bunch of the other ones that pick up the RSS feed. I still need to go through and figure out who's got what. So it's the Hombre Cave. The Tequila Hombre channel is my tequila review channel. So if you want to learn about tequila and what tequilas to buy and stuff like that, and history of tequila and all different kinds of information about tequila, then that's a good place to go. If you want to learn about winemaking and see some of my journeys of going out to the vineyards, picking my grapes, and how I make wine in my winery, my garage, that led to me being an award-winning winemaker, then go check out the Hombre Cave videos there on the YouTube channel. And you can see, I take you along to the vineyards. I strap a GoPro camera on my head, and you're there with me while I'm picking grapes, and then coming back and crushing them with me and doing the whole process from beginning to end. And I'm planning on adding more stuff to teach people how to get into making wine at home. Because instead of having to go and pay up for $150 bottle of cab at the store, you can do this at home, and it costs you about $7 a bottle. So.
Excellent, Mark. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for being part of the How to Podcast family as a newbie around here. It's great to have you here. And for your wife, thanks to her for giving you a little kick in the pants to say, hey, you need a podcast and you should go listen to this show. It's nice that the two of you found the podcast. I'm so glad that the podcast is helping. And just to stay in touch. I like to follow your journey and to get you back on in the future, to get an update on all things around your podcast and how things are going. Congratulations on your show. I know that a lot of the listeners of this show would love to come and connect with you. So everybody, please do that. Links in the show notes. Mark, again, thank you so much for making time to be on the show. Congratulations on your new podcast. Great to have you here.
I will. And thank you for having me on your show and talking to you. It's great to see the face of the person I listen to every morning with coffee. So I appreciate all the information you've given me without, charging and stuff like that. And just putting this information out there, because without it, I don't know if I would have actually started this podcast. And you're a big part of my journey. So thank you.
Okay, everybody, all the links in the show notes as always. Go support Mark, another new podcaster, joining the ranks. If you want to start a podcast, this is your home, the How to Podcast series. This is where it all starts. I'd love to help you. We have the community on Meetup. We have free episodes here every day in 2026. We've got great people like Mark that you get to meet as well. Find out about new podcasts. If you want to be on the show and talk about your journey as a podcaster, whether you've just started like Mark, whether you've been doing YouTube for 10 years like Mark, whether you've come from radio like Mark, or whatever, we would love to have you on the show. So please reach out anytime, howtopodcast.ca. My link is there. And my calendar link is there. I'd love for you to come and spend some time together with us here at the How to Podcast series. Thanks for being here. Take care, everybody. Keep podcasting. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast all the way through to the end. I love having these great guest co-hosts on the show to share their podcasts with you. You have some homework to do. And what I'm asking of you is to go check out our featured guest co-host today. Go over and listen to their podcasts. The links are always in the show notes. And I'd love for you to go and give them your love and support. And I think if we can all do that for each other, podcasting will be a lot more fun for all of us. So it's time to do what you've asked others to do for you. It's time to do for this guest co-host. Links in the show notes. Go over and check out their show and leave them a review. Do the follow. Go listen to their episodes in full, the entirety of an episode, which again shows to the apps that it's a good podcast because you're going there and you're staying to the end. It's probably one of the best ways you can help a podcaster grow their audience and be shown to more people is by simply going and listening wherever you listen to the very end, like you're doing right now here. This is the perfect way to signal to wherever you're listening on, this is a podcast worth promoting. And all of the apps want you to stay on as long as possible. So go over and listen to our guest co-host episode and leave them some feedback. If they have a buy me a coffee, send them a coffee. If they have a speak pipe, send them a voice message. If they have an email, send them an email. If they're on Instagram, send them a direct message. Do something to support our guest co-hosts. They've given up their time to be here with you, to be here with me, and we can give that back to them with time and attention, our love, our support. Thank you for doing all that for me as well. Here on the How to Podcast series, we'll talk to you soon for our next episode. Okay, so you're here. I love this. Okay, well, let's just do a quick answer to a question that comes in for YouTube and podcasting. Now, you're going to hear gurus say that having an audio version of your podcast on YouTube is a terrible idea. Those are called gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are not allowed in podcasting. That's one rule, I guess. If there is any rule, there's no rules. That's the rule. So I think I just canceled myself out with that one. But there's no rules in podcasting. So if you want to have an audio podcast on YouTube, you can. You can. And even though people are going to shun you and say that it's a terrible idea, here's an example for you of why you should consider it. When you create your episode, it goes live to Apple and Spotify and Audible and iHeartRadio, blah, 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 blah. You connect it to YouTube as well through your hosting site. So as it goes up, it automatically goes to YouTube. You don't have to do anything. It's there. Okay, and if you need help with this, let me know. We can do a screen share. I'll show you, walk you through it. Easy peasy. Now, why is that a good thing? Well, because people can find you on YouTube because you're very easy to search for anything on YouTube. It's built that way. So if you want to be found on YouTube as a starting point, people can come to YouTube and go to Apple after, or go to Spotify or iHeartRadio after, but they found you. So if you're not there, you're not going to be found. So that's the first thing. So be findable, be on YouTube. As well, it's a great backup storage drive for your episodes. People, when you stop paying your hosting site for your podcast, they delete your episodes. You're done. You're finished. You're out. It's gone. Because there's no connection. They don't owe you anything if you stop paying. Connecting your podcast to YouTube. YouTube is free. So everything you post goes to YouTube for free. It's a free backup drive. Think of it like a glorified Google Drive where you store your episodes. And the world has access to go and listen to them. And you get on YouTube Music as an audio podcast. There's a special place just for podcasts if you set it up right. So reach out to me. I'd love to help you. Get yourself on YouTube. Let people find you. And then go through there and use YouTube as a different measurement tool than your podcast host and compare the two. I can go to YouTube and look at my top 5 episodes on YouTube and then go over to my hosting site and see my top 5. I might see a difference. Actually, usually I see a difference. So something is resonating with my audience on YouTube. and something is resonating with my audience on my audio podcast side. And then I have something to compare to. It's apples and oranges, I get it, but at least it's something to compare to. And for those gurus out there who think I'm just not smart at all, my Living the Next Chapter podcast is an audio-based podcast. I have some occasional videos, but it's primarily 99% audio. On YouTube, 99% audio. I have over 2,500 watch hours, which is funny to say out loud, watch hours for an audio podcast on YouTube. So for everybody who says that YouTube is a terrible idea, my response to you is, no, it's not. It works if you do it right. So if it's not working, you're probably talking to the wrong person. The wrong person is leading you. If you want to do it the right way, reach out to me at howtopodcast.ca. We can make this work. Love to hear from you. YouTube, audio, it is a good mix if you do it the right way when you talk to the right people. No gatekeepers. Thanks for being here. Catch you tomorrow.